Alright, so last night Jess and I got the engine pulled out of James Brown. It really didn't take too long, maybe an hour or so, and definitely want to make some changes in here. The main reason I pulled it out is because I wanted to change the oil pan, which I couldn't do with it in the car, which is one of the things I want to change about this. Make it so that I possibly could pull the oil pan with it in the car, which I'm hoping I can just cut the cross member, weld the tube in a little bit lower so that I can drop it down and slide it out. I'm hoping I could get away with that. Don't know if it'll actually work. But like I said, I wanted to change the oil pan while it's out and get different motor mounts, because what I had before was these ICT adapters and some small block Chevy mounts just bolted right up. So I had that situation going on in the car. And it worked fine. It really did. I'll probably end up using those on something else in the future. They do work fine. Same thing we used in Dustin's Cadillac. But it's just a lot of unnecessary components up front that I can simplify pretty easily. So I picked up some of these mounts off Amazon. They're pretty cheap, like 45 bucks. And they come with these tabs to weld to the frame. Same things I used on this, actually. Doubt you'll be able to see them. Yeah, you can kind of see them. But they work really well. They're cheap. So that's going to allow me to cut a lot of this out of here. I'll be able to cut the small block Chevy mount out of here that I welded in when this thing had a small block Chevy. I could, honestly, I can cut this out of here because this is just a piece of plate. I'll box it all in and weld a nice strong tube under there. But it'll let me free up a lot of space under the car, which will be nice. And then because of the mounts I'm going to, with the ICT billet adapter that moved the clamshell up here, getting rid of that, it'll move it back here. So I'm probably going to have to order some plate steel and make some mounts that come off the frame rail there. And not a big deal, just an extra step. I have been playing around with the idea of setting the engine back a couple inches, because right now the #1 spark plug is like right here, give or take. Yeah, no, right about there. Because if you look, the motor mount was right in here. So I was at the front of it. So yeah, it was right about here. So I was playing around with the idea of cutting the firewall, moving it all back a little bit, but I want to. I think it would help the car tremendously to set it back even 2 inches. But I just don't know if it's going to be in the cards, because I got to cut out the firewall, move it back. Not a huge deal, not real worried about that. I'm not real worried about any of it. It's just going to be time consuming, because I got to set the firewall back, I got to shorten the drive shaft, I got to move the transmission mount, and then depending on where things come out, that might mess with the headers that I got, because right now it's dumping right here. So if I move it back a couple inches, you know, it's just going to be a trickle effect that right now things will work the way it is. And the car did pretty good. And I got to keep in mind that I am going to be putting a cage in it and back halving the car, so that's going to add a little bit of weight back there, the cage and everything. So I don't know. I still haven't made up my mind about that. There's definitely pros and cons to either way. But I was hoping to just get away with pretty much swapping oil pans and getting this thing back in the car and somewhat throwing it back together. Not happening. I pulled the F-body pan off that I had on the car, and the oil seemed fine. I wasn't real concerned about it, but when I pulled the pan off, there was definitely some metal there. Way more metal than I'm comfortable with. I might get lucky and might be able to just put some bearings in this thing, but regardless, I do have to flip it over and pull the caps off and look at everything, see what's going on, and hopefully it's not more hurt than I think it is, because the thing ran fine, never made any noise. I think we caught whatever it was early enough. I'm pretty sure it's just bearings. I needed to pull it apart anyway to gap the rings, because believe it or not, I've never gapped the rings in this thing. And we were seeing 21, 22 pounds of boost with it. So there was some good heat in there. I think the E85 helped that a lot. But yeah, we got to pull it apart regardless, especially now that we saw the metal. Once we get this thing on the stand and flipped over, we'll start coming up with a game plan for things. I think while I've got this header sitting here, I want to check to see how much of a pain in the butt it's going to be to pull the plugs. All of them look fine except this one looks like it might be a little That one might not even be too bad, actually. I know on that Trailblazer SS, on the other side, actually, they were a motherfucker. I'm about to pull the heads off in a second. And then, speaking of exhaust, I got some tubing to make the primary. Get that back on. Oh, and here is the oil pan that I ended up picking up for it. This is $300 from Summit. Comes with gasket, pickup tube, all that. And it's for a spin-on filter, which I liked, because it's just a lot more convenient to just do that under the car real quick instead of having to run lines to a standalone oil filter block. But yeah, this is the same one that I put on the Firebird, except that one was chrome. This one I went with the weird colors. I just thought it was something different. I got that irritated because I'm irritated with this car. And then once I get the other oil pan on, I should be able to put that steering link back to pretty much stock. I think I'm still going to horseshoe it a touch, but for the most part I can put that pretty much back to stock, I believe. Hopefully. Alright, got the heads off. Everything actually looks really good so far. All the pistons look great, actually. The E85 kept them real nice and clean. The cylinders, super glazed, but everything feels fine so far. Same story over here on the other side. I don't see any dings or anything in the pistons. They all look fine. Again, super glazed cylinders, but this thing probably has like 230,000 miles on it. The heads, however, also look fine. This other one over here, same story. This one looks a little different, but that actually, that would have been at the back, so who knows. All that. But yeah, all these heads, I wouldn't hesitate to bolt them right back on. I think they're fine. They need to be cleaned up here, but still, that's fine. These head gaskets, I do not remember what head gaskets these are. So now I'm just going to roll it over, look at the bearings, make sure, because all the metal that was in the pan, it was probably the bits from the turbo that when it blew out. So I'm gonna look at the bearings. I really hope the crank didn't get chewed up at all, and I hope that the cam is also fine. Those are really my two biggest concerns, that the crank didn't get chewed up and that the cam didn't get chewed up. So let's get this thing flipped over real quick, which sucks to do with this engine stand because there's nothing back here to put a bar in to spin it over. All right, got the winches tray off. The pickup actually wasn't too packed full of anything. Yeah, we'll start with this one. The pickup wasn't too packed full of anything, so who knows, there might be hope. Or the pickup wasn't too packed full of anything because it was just passing right through and the whole engine's fucked. Who knows? Could really go either way. I did already crack these loose, so they're not just this loose to begin with. I went through and broke them all loose. Trying to be gentle with it. Moment of truth. Oh, that's not bad. Like, there's definitely been some shit in there, but it's not nearly as bad as I was expecting. How's the crank feel? That's the thing. You can feel it with your fingernail. Somebody who really, really cared would take that and have that turned down. Okay, mistake there. Ooh, ruh-roh. What have we got here? That's not good. That's not good. Come on. Let me see if I can find my little pick or something. Gentle, 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 gentle. Oh yeah, it was one to chew this one up. Yeek. Oh my god. Yikes. Yikes, yikes. Yeah, that one, less than happy. The crank looks about the same. Well, shoot. That right there tells me all I need to know. The other one, I would have been fine with just putting new bearings in it. This one, fucked. Damn it, dude. That sucks. That really sucks. Let's put you back here so that I don't lose you. We'll look at this one too, just to see. Well, like I said, we already know what we need to know. This one looks alright. Yeah, this one, without even wiping it off, it looks fine. Yeah, just really slightly chewed. You can feel a tiny little bit. Again, this, I bet. Oh, the crank actually feels really good there still. So it only chewed up the bearing. But yeah, this one, just take it like 5 thou and it would be fine. Alright, and then here's the part that I really want to see. I want to see what the cam looks like. Make sure that's all right. So far, I see nothing really worth worrying about. The cam bearings could be in question, but I'm not overly concerned with it at this point. As long as the lobes are good, that's my main priority. So obviously, that's not what I was hoping to see. I was hoping I could just put new bearings in it and we'd be fine, but that crank definitely, I'll just probably find a new crank for it. But that's kind of where we're at. Anyway, something that I have been thinking about is taking the car and pretty much putting it all back together. I haven't cut anything up yet. I can put it right back how it was, improve a few things here and there, still change the oil pan, fix the steering link, and just get a good quality turbo for it and have a low to mid 9-second car that's hopefully somewhat reliable still. And then take all the stuff that I bought for this and put it all in the Monte Carlo SS and make that a more dedicated drag car. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to explain. For the money that I think it'll still take to get it where I want it, I think I could more easily put it into the Monte Carlo and make that pretty darn competitive. Because while I was just going to put the 5.3 back in this and run the VS turbo, I have a 6.0 that I could put in the Monte Carlo with that turbo. I've got a good intake coming for it that I actually think would clear the cowl hood for the Monte Carlo. In G-bodies, you guys already know, you can build those cars out of catalogs. They make everything for those. So I wouldn't have to, like with this, get custom coilovers made to control the front end. I can just look on like Strange or even Summit and just be like, these are the ones I want. Let's get them. And they're relatively cheap. So that's just kind of what I've been thinking about. The RX-7 has a special place in my heart, so I'm still not going to get rid of it, which I know will make my wife really happy that I'm not going to get rid of another car, but kind of build a separate car to do the same thing, because I'm a hoarder. But there also isn't a whole lot of people who are connected to this car, whereas with pretty much any G-body, everybody grew up with someone in their family who owned a G-body. It's much more relatable. A lot more people like those cars. So I think it would just be something that a lot more people would appreciate and enjoy. So like I said, it's just something I've been thinking about. I haven't made up my mind yet. As of right now, I'm still putting this together, but it's definitely something that is very possible. But you know, we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and clicking that bell. We'll see you next time.